Say you.
That's right.
You're tuned to the Sportcat Show.
You know what? Let's do this different.
The boss jock has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. You have the one, the only Sportcat. I am live with you. We are live on Radio X in Australia and Dare Talk Radio in Australia. Good morning, good afternoon. I encourage everybody that's listening over on the intranet to come check us out. Come over to YouTube, find us. You can find us by searching out the Sportcat shows, and you can come over and join our lively chat, which, as always, we have our number one moderator. Denise is here. We are so glad to see her. And Chris is here. So Chris is, I see and I hear the music today. Yay. One battle won. I talked to the station manager yesterday, and he was like, you handled that like a pro. And I was like, yeah, well, I was kind of shitting myself a little bit. But it all worked out. So I hope everybody's having a great day. And like I said, I encourage everybody to come over here and check us out. Please remember to hit that thumbs up button and give us a sub while you're at it. And if any of you can find that hyper whatever button on the bottom of the screen and something about the hyper chat, I don't know. Tell me what it is, because I have no damn clue. So, and once again, I invited Brenda on the show, but she decides that she's got other things to do after she wakes up at 2:00 in the afternoon. I don't get it. So, all right. Well, let's see. I need to put that up there too. I need to put my international time clock up there so that everybody knows what time it is. Where's that? Oh, I turned it on. Did I not? Come on. There we go. All right. So let's get on with the show. So, no, that's not what I wanted. Hell, what the hell am I doing today? I don't know. See, there we go. I'm trying to figure this out as I go. Here we go. All right. Hello, everybody. It is 2:04 on the East Coast. And in Chicago, it's just after lunchtime, 1:04. Denver, enjoy your lunch. LA, get ready for your lunch. It's 11:04 a.m. there. And for our friends down in Perth, it is 2:05, 4:05 Sydney time. Adelaide, 3:35, and Lord Howe, 4:35. So good morning to all of you. I'm glad you're making me a part of your day here on the radio. So welcome. Like I said, I encourage you to come over and check us out. You'll just see that I'm a huge, hairy, ugly guy. That's all you'll see. All right, so I'm going to throw this watch across the damn room. My alarms are going off for people moving. I've got apparently people moving all over the world in Tennessee, and it's setting off my motion alarm. All right. So we see that the sun is over the coast of South America, low in the afternoon sky if you're in the south, and the moon is not yet visible to us here on the East Coast, but we see that it is coming. So let's see here. Speaking of the moon, we are still at a waxing gibbous, I don't say it's something like that. So the current moon phase for today and tonight is waxing gibbous, visible throughout most of the night sky. If you're not anticipating or experiencing any of those storms, this phase is when it is more than 50% illuminated, but not yet a full moon. This is going to last for 7 days before becoming much more illuminated in the sky. So you can enjoy that and look forward to the new moon. I'm sure they get a name for it. All right, so let's explore this a little bit. I talked about this yesterday, but we got sidetracked in with the radio, or not the radio, the YouTube crashing. So at least you can see and hear me today. All right, so this is the live sky, and this shows us a view of our galaxy from space. You can zoom it out and see all the planets, and you can see their trajectories or their orbital paths around the sun. You can zoom way out there. We're all the way out to Pluto. And let's zoom in here, because the one I wanted to talk about is 3i Atlas. And where is 3i Atlas? It's hiding already. No, it's not hiding already. Where the hell is it? It's this one. It's that. Okay, am I blind? All right, so 3-eye atlas. Let's zoom out a little bit more. Is it already disappeared? Where the hell did it go? No, it must be out here still. There. No, that's not it. That's a different one. Okay, well, the map's not going to work with me today. So, I don't know why the map's not. Whoa, I'm going to give myself a headache. All right, so, well, 3-eye atlas is coming in. I don't know why I don't see 3-eye atlas on here. It was up here earlier. This is it. I want to show you something and I can't get it. I screw it up and we waste time trying to figure it out. It's not that far out. No, it's not that far out of our system. Let's just zoom in on Earth and see what happens. Well, it is not on here. I don't know why. Why is it not on here? Let's see. Well, let's just do it this way. We'll look at major objects. I don't know what the hell that is. The sun, the moon, no. Bright comets. How about that? Bright comets. There we go. 3-eye atlas. All right, so it's in the constellation of Libra, which means it's fast approaching us. And as you can see by their countdown timer there, it's going over 150,000 miles an hour. It's headed on a course for Earth where it's going to go behind the sun. Yeah, Chris says, last I heard, I was again being told not to buy the expert story that it was a comet. Well, we were going to discuss that because it did some interesting things over the past couple days. One, it slowed down, which comets don't slow down. We know that it changed the color of what we see, and it went from green to red. It was technically nuked by solar storm because it's aggravated the sun, and so the sun had a mass coronal ejection, and it went right at it, and that's what caused it to change colors. And it slowed down briefly and then sped back up, which is unusual. But here's the really weird part. It turned on a light shining down on Mars. Explain that to me. How does a comet do that? So they're hoping that the next couple days they can get a good view of it from the Mars, I guess, satellites that we have in orbit around Mars. But yeah, it's doing some weird things, and I don't know why they've taken it off of the map. I mean, because it's supposed to continue to come in, and over the next couple days, it's going to disappear for Earth behind the sun. Maybe that's it. Oh, no, okay, that's what it is. No, that's coronal. Did they change the name of it? That's the coronal one. Well, it's going to disappear behind the sun. And so I was listening to a expert on, I guess, military technology would be the best way of saying this. Military approach to way of doing things. And so it's coming in at an angle that is on plane with Earth. And if you see all the other comets coming in, they're coming in at different angles. So that's interesting. But suddenly these other things appeared right behind 3-eye atlas. In other words, meaning they didn't exist to us until shortly after we saw 3-eye atlas, which is crazy, right? I mean, why can't... Okay, well, at any rate, so the military theory is that this is the exact thing you would do if you were going to observe something. In other words, it's a military technique. You would you would suddenly send out sensors, or that's not the right word. You would send out things or persons to investigate ahead of the time. And that's exactly what they're saying. The military strategists that I was watching on the tube is saying that this is done. These others appeared, and then suddenly, boom, the course of it has changed. I really don't know why I'm not able to see 3i Atlas. Maybe it's because it's so close. At any rate, so it's coming in at a different angle than any other comet has ever come in. Most of them come in and they're in orbit with our sun. This thing's on its own little course and has nothing to do with our sun. And the tail has been cut off twice. It's changed colors. It's not letting off the proper gases that a comet would. So yeah, it's doing some strange things, but it's going to be flying by Mars in the next couple days, where we'll get our best look. And at its current speed, it'll disappear from us behind the sun, where it can observe us, but we can't observe it. And then the other interesting thing of note was they were talking about how 48 years ago, we received an unexplained signal from space. They said that whatever could have sent that signal would have had to have had enough energy that it would had to have been done from a nuclear type of propulsion. And to this day, we don't know 48 years ago what that signal was. Some scientists are now theorizing that it is 3i Atlas. I don't know if any of this is true or not. I'm not a meteorologist, a earthologist, a starologist, any of that stuff. But from everything I'm reading, it's doing everything that a comet is not supposed to do, which is incredibly odd. Now, is it probably just going to be a space rocket? We just don't know what's happened. 90% chance, yes. But since it's doing so many odd things, scientists don't know. In fact, there was a post that NASA, of course, now we're in a government shutdown, that's going to be affected, should start sending out signals saying, we're here, come in peace, we don't want any trouble. Hello, this rock's occupied. So I sincerely doubt that they will do that, but it is very interesting how it's happened. Why is it? I just don't know. Hey, I can search. How about we do that? 3i. Yeah, there we go. 3i Atlas. Okay, there it is. See, it's hidden. So we see 3i Atlas. We're about to get our closest. If you see, here's Mars. We're about to get our best view of it as it comes towards the planet. But look at the path that it's currently on. Follow the red trail there, and you will see it doesn't do any orbiting. It comes, it goes. And as we spin around and go behind the sun for the next couple days, it's not going to be visible to us. So some other interesting things that 3i Atlas has done is from amateur photographers, astronomers, astronomy photographers, good Lord. The tail was one direction, and from all the official observers, the tail was in a different direction. So, but at any rate, it's closest to Mars. We're going to get our best views of it over the next couple days. What they'll tell us, who the hell knows? But so there you can see its course shooting through our system, and it's going to go behind the sun to us after this, and we won't be able to see it. But the others that appeared just suddenly, some military theorists are saying those could be probes to see what is in the galaxy it's going through, which they say would make sense. Okay, so there you go. You have it. I don't know. I'm just theorizing, trying to get it lined up to show its exact course, but you can't really do that. So, but yeah, it's going on its own little path. It's not doing anything like any other comet would do. So I'm going to keep following it because, well, I guess I'm kind of an astronomy nerd, right? All right, well, let's get on with today. Well, today is the 274th day of 2025, 81 days until winter begins. And there's already that S word in the forecast. Cold weather could be pushing down soon. Question of the day: do blackberry plants need full sun? And what would they like that I can add to the ground to amend the soil? I don't know why I need to know this, but blackberries do need full sun for good production. They're fussy about their soil. It needs to be well drained, manure, compost in the soil, and have proper nutrition and lime. So there you go. I don't know why I needed to read that today. I'm becoming an old farmer. Let's see. Word of the day, solar cycle. We've talked about that. A period of 28 days in the Julian calendar, at the end of which the days of the month return to the same days of the week. And today is the best day to begin logging, harvest above ground crops, and set or pour post concrete. There you go. So what kind of dog does a vampire has? Oh, this is going to be a dad joke. A bloodhound. I love it. I got a hellhound. All right. Let's see. So we'll look at the odd almanac for October. Today, in 1890, an act of Congress established Yosemite National Park in California. What the hell was that? Did you all hear that? It sounded like something banged on my window out there. I mean, Sasquatch is calling. 1949, the Chinese Communist Party chairman Mao Zedong declared the People's Republic of China at a ceremony in Beijing. 1975, Muhammad Ali defeated Joe Frazier in the Thrilla in Manila boxing match in the Philippines. I kind of remember that. It was broadcast on CBS. It had Howard Cosell, if I recall. 2017, a mass shooting at a country music festival in Las Vegas resulted in 58 deaths and 800 injuries. Today's birthday, hello Gracie. She was apparently a martial artist. Walter Matthau, actor Jimmy Carter. He was an actor. Jimmy Carter, he was a president. He wasn't an actor. William Rehnquist, he was a chief justice. Tom Bosley, an actor. Richard Harris, he was an actor. Julie Andrews, she's an actress. Rod Carew, baseball player. Tim O'Brien, author. Isali Morales, an actor. Mark McGuire, he's a baseball player. Zach Galifianakis, whatever. He was an actor. Rupert Friend, he was an actor. Brie Larson is also an actress. Today in 1957, the first paper currency bearing the U.S. motto, "In God We Trust," entered circulation. Today in sports, Roger Maris hits the 61st home run of the season, breaking the single-season record that had been held by the Babe since 1927. Today's quote: a fundamentalist can't bring himself or herself to negotiate with people who disagree with them because the negotiating process itself is an indication of implied equality. Maybe our elected officials today should think about that. Today's number, $3.50, 3.50. The adult ticket price at Walt Disney Magic Kingdom in 1971. How about you have to add a couple more zeros to that now? One day price in 2025 is $119. There you go. Wow. One day. I don't know. All right, we talked about the moon, and let's see. Chris is giving me hell about something. Maybe someone needs a ride to school. Good one, Chris. I had forgot about that. Well, no, we have a new oddity, and it's only happened to Mrs. Sportcat. So every time she's been out either working on her car or cleaning or whatever here recently, there's another young lad that has moved into the neighborhood that comes and stands at the end of the driveway. And when he gets her attention, he asks her for a smoke. She doesn't smoke. We don't smoke. So and she says he just kind of stands there and then wanders off after a little bit. I was like, he likes you. You got an admirer. All right. So the best day calendar, October 1st, Chris, castrate your farm animals, cut your firewood, dig holes, host a party, It's getting close to Oktoberfest. Kill plant pests. Mow to increase growth. Paint. I hate painting. Potty train and set eggs. What the hell do they mean by setting eggs? And wean. It's a good day to wean. I don't know what the hell. Set egg task. What the hell is a set egg task? For set egg task. All right, I'm going to Google this because I have no idea what the hell a set egg task is. So let's just ask AI because, well, it's smarter than me. AI, what is set a task? Is a term for placing fertile eggs in an incubator or under a broody hen 21. Okay, there you go. So it's a good day to fertilize your eggs if you got to fertilize your eggs. All right, we'll keep going. We'll cover some more history on this day. And yes, I'm Zach Gallen for Flankla. Yeah, there you go. I'll fuck it up again, Chris. So 331 BC, Alexander the Great defeats Darius III of Persia in a battle of Gagwagamala. There you go, Chris. 1688, Prince William of Orange accepts invitation to take up the British crown. 1814, the opening of the Congress in Vienna redraws Europe's political map after the defeat of Napoleon. 1867, Karl Marx publishes Das Kapital in Berlin, describing the capitalist system, its instability, and its tendency towards self-destruction. 1908, Henry Ford introduces the Model T car, priced at $825. That would have been my great-great-grandfather. Apparently, when they shipped the Model Ts to the dealerships, the Ford dealerships, they weren't all assembled. And my great-great-grandfather in Knoxville was a Ford mechanic and worked on the very first Model T and worked on them his entire life. Never owned a car. So he walked his entire life everywhere he went. I think Ford would have given him one. Chris says, I never knew kids were trying to peer pressure people into smoking like that. I think after a week, Mrs. Sportcat not smoking, we would give up. Yeah, I don't know what he's going to ask for next. It's just a really odd. I live in a weird neighborhood, I think. I think they want to be friendly. They just don't know how. And I don't like people, so. Yes, exactly. People did have to be pissed, would be pissed after buying that car and it rained because, well, back then. And there's so many great pictures if you go back in history and look at the early model cars. They were all open, but you do have a canopy that covers you, but they were all open for the most part. And you can see the roads weren't paved. They were just kind of mud paths, and you could see that it was like they were doing dirt rod racing. It is pretty interesting to go back and look at some of the historical pictures. In fact, where I grew up in Washington, D.C., one of the military roads I lived off of was named because the military had so many problems with it being muddy. They paved the street with poles. It was called Pole Road. 1918, World War I, a combined Arab and British force led by Lawrence of Arabia captures Damascus from the Ottoman Empire. 1988, Mikhail Gorbachev becomes chairman of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet, effectively head of state of the Soviet Union. 1968, cult zombie film Night of the Living Dead, directed by George Romero, and starring Dwayne Jones and Judith O'Dea, premieres in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 1982, Marvin Gaye releases his last studio album featuring the single Sexual Healing. That was a great song. In 1975, Muhammad Ali stopped Joe Frazier 14 rounds to retain his heavyweight title in the Thriller in Manila. All right, let's see. Yeah, we'll cover birthdays here in a minute. We'll move to the next one, because I'll just screw that up. So here we go. Let's see. 1553, Mary I becomes Queen of England. In 1854, the first orphan train arrives. First orphan train, a humanitarian project involving shipping impoverished city kids to rule America. Towns for adoptions arrived in Michigan. We have a history of just shipping our kids around for whatever purpose, and that's bad. 1888, the Saucy Jack postcard is received. The Saucy Jack postcard, believed to have been sent by Jack the Ripper just after the murders of Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes, is received by the Central News Agency. What did it look like, though? That's what I want to know. Let's see if there's God knows what this will bring up. Saucy Jack postcard. Let's see if we can get a picture of it. This Saucy Jack postcard. There you go. Just show me a picture. Oh, okay. It's nothing like I pictured. All right. Well, there you go. And I guess that why could we not use technology today to get those fingerprints off of that? I mean, that's a partial print. You would think that we could do that. I don't know. At any rate, so there you go. It's a bloodied postcard. According to, let's look at AI to make sure. Card contains specific details about the murders, referred to the killings as a double event. He claimed they had not time to get the ears off for police, and authenticity has been debated for over a century. Journalists later claimed that he and a colleague wrote all the letters signed by Jack the Ripper to keep public interest alive in the case. However, in 2018, a forensic linguist analyst found compelling evidence linking the handwriting on the postcard in the earlier Dear Boss letter. Okay, there you go. I don't know why we couldn't take the DNA and get the details out of it, but hey, whatever. 1890, Yosemite Park is established. We talked about that. And if you're interested in going to a park facility, well, you might want to think about going a little bit later because it's on a shutdown. Brenda says on her phone, I look small and naked. Well, Brenda, I actually have pants on, and I don't know how you get that, but okay. Hopefully one day, Brenda, if you can wake up on time, you have to wake up before noon. I know it's hard. 1924, President Jimmy Carter is born in Plains, Georgia, right here locally. Julie Andrews, the iconic singer and actress, was born in Surrey, England. She started as a child on Broadway, and then we know her from a number of historic films, including Mary Poppins, The Sound of Music, and she's continued working principally as a voice actress to almost today. 1977, Leviton, New York opens. The first mass-produced suburb opens for residents. It was initially only available for white buyers. Okay. 1977, Pele plays his last game. Well, the Brazilian soccer star known as Pele played his farewell game at New Jersey's Giant Stadium. Some 75,000 fans attended the game, in which Pele played the first half with the New York Cosmos and the second half with the Santos of Brazil. To this day, Pele is considered one of the best soccer players of all times. And in 1999, the International Olympic Committee named him Athlete of the Century. 2017, Stephen Paddock perpetrates the Las Vegas shooting. Stephen Paddock, a 64-year-old businessman, perpetrates the Las Vegas shooting from his 32nd floor room at Mandalay Bay. He shot and killed over 60 people attending the Route 91 harvest. In total, 400 people were injured in what would be the U.S.'s deadliest shooting. He would later commit suicide in his room before investigators could apprehend him. Before the shooting, he lived in a relative solitary and did not capture the attention of law enforcement. Even today, investigators are still unsure of his motives. There you go. And so today is International Coffee Day. Let's see, we catch up. Brenda says, I do. I had to leave the house. Brenda, you never leave the house. You're lying. You had to wash your cat. That's all. I'm on to you, Brenda. I'm on to you. You just had to wash your cat. And Chris says, I still don't buy this Vegas story. More corrupt BS. Yeah, there's a lot of stories that don't make sense. In fact, I do a lot of doom scrolling so you don't have to. The most recent Kirk guy, well, the person involved in that now supposedly his family and him have told several well-known show content creators that he didn't even know how to get onto the campus. He didn't even know the layout of the campus, let alone sneak onto there with a long-barreled, boomstick and then somehow scale a roof to get up there and then assemble the long thing that he brought with him to discharge it, to disassemble it, to jump and leave, which there's no video showing the actual happening. There's clearer pictures of freaking Bigfoot than there are of that. Think about that. Think about that. All right, so today is International Coffee Day. I don't like coffee. National Homemade Cookie Day. Well, yeah, I love homemade cookies, but my A1C is so high that we're going to have to take a break. World Vegetarian Day. I was telling Mrs. Sportcat, I don't think I had a green all summer long. Brenda says her cat would kill her. And she goes, ding, ding, ding. Brenda, this is why I need you here. You keep me on point sometimes so that, I can, when I make a point, you can just hit the button. So now I'm hungry. Religious Day, Idua Puja Day. All right, Chris, I know you're going to make me go in on this one. So we'll figure out what this is. It's October 1st. It is known as the Astra Puja. It's celebrated on the 9th of the Navaratri every year in India. Falls on October 1st. People worship and revere objects and instruments related to the profession and livelihood on this auspicious day. So does that mean as a firefighter paramedic, I would have to worship the fire truck, the god of Mac, the god of Pierce? And then as far as being a paramedic, I want to worship their stethoscope. I don't know. Okay, whatever. It's not my rodeo. I'm just a clown in the show. Balloons Around the World Day. I thought that was bad. I thought it was bad to release balloons in the environment. CD Player Day. Does everybody remember their first portable CD player? It's National China Day, Cyprus Independence Day, Durga Puja Navami. It's a cultural day that I just fucked up. Filipino American History Month. International Day of Older Persons. There you go, Brenda. There's a day just for you. October 1st, the International Day for Older People. It's International Music Day. International Walk to School Day. I did that. International Ceremony of the Captain's Regent. Mahanavami. Chris, you just watched this show to hear me screw up words. It's Mahanavimi Day. It's a cultural day. Model T Day. National Black Dog Day. Why it's got to be a black dog? National Coffee with a Cop Day. I've seen a lot of that going around the internet through departments hosting coffee and donuts with a cop. National Day of China. National Fire Pup Day. And we all know the National Fire Pup. Now, see, this picture is obviously AI because it's National Fire Pup Day, and they've got a damn German Shepherd with the firefighter. Everybody knows that it's a Dalmatian, right? It's a Dalmatian, but yet the picture here is a German Shepherd. I'm not saying a German Shepherd wouldn't be, they're great arson dogs, but that's not the Fire Dog Day, so I don't know. Brenda says she still has her first CD player, so. Chris says, I remember taking my first portable CD player in the car and driving over a leaf and having the CD skip for 10 minutes. Oh my God. And if you drop that CD and it got a tiny little scratch on it. Oh, yeah. Do you remember the first actual CD you bought, what it was? I can tell you what mine was. It's National Hair Day. I need a haircut. I'm going to see if Mrs. Sportcat will shave me. She probably needs a dip in me too. National Kale Day. National Lace Day. Brenda, dress up in lace and send a picture to Chris. National Pumpkin Seed Day. Nope, not a fan. National Raccoon Day. Well, anybody that's known me for any period of time knows that raccoons and I have a history. So, National Walk and Bike to School Day. Some of my fondest memories, riding a bike in the summer to school. Nigeria Independence Day. Rock Alliance Day. And there's a whole bunch here that I can't pronounce. And it's World Sake Day. So there you go. Let's see. Scoot back up here and go to the next one. And what do we have? It's National Jiffy Mix Day. I love Jiffy cornbread. Have a little onion and jalapeno in it. There you go. Coffee with a Cop Day. We talked about that. Pumpkin Spice Day. I don't understand pumpkin spice. Brenda says her first was Linkin Park. Well, it wasn't a boy band. Chris says, I think NXS was his first. Mine was Born in the USA. Was it Bruce Springsteen? Is that right? So, but don't ask me what I had for dinner yesterday, Brenda says. Yeah, National Pumpkin Spice. Not a fan. National Fire Pup Day. They got the picture right. It's a Dalmatian. National Green City Day. There you go. Let's look and see if there are any interesting birthdays that we're going to skip ahead a little bit to closer to our generation. We'll start with Bonnie Parker, because Brenda knows her well. The criminal and half duo of Bonnie and Clyde. Walter Matthau, actor who will forever be remembered for his roles in The Odd Couple and Grumpy Old Man. I love that guy. Tom Bosley. He played the actor, or he was the actor who played Howard Cunningham in Happy Days. Yeah, I remember him well. Mary McFadden, a fashion designer. Mark Savoy, creator of the Cajun accordion. Herb Fame, R&B singer of the duo Peaches and Herb. Dave Aronson, game designer who created Dungeons and Dragons. I thought it was much older than that. Joshua Werman, a scientist and avid storm chaser who invented the Doppler on wheels. Tom Clancy, one of my favorite books and movies, The Hunt for Red October. Memorable events for today. Denise says, I'm running into the post office. I'm taking you with me. All right, well, keep me close to your heart and put me in a pocket. Memorable events, 1832, Texan political delegates gathered to petition for changes in the governance of Mexican Texas, eventually becoming present-day Texas. There you go, Brenda. There's some history for you. It was originally called the Governance of Mexican Texas. 1861, Mrs. Beaton Books of Household Management is published, giving instructions on how to run a household. I wonder if that's still in effect. And that's kind of like Robert's Rules of Order. 1891, Stanford University opens in California. 1903, Boston Americans play the Pittsburgh Pirates in the first game of baseball in what would become the modern World Series. Once again, I thought that was older than that. We talked about how the Ford Model T was on sale for $825, and I can't wait for the new Toyota pickup to come out that's under $15,000. I will probably be buying one. 1931, the George Washington Bridge, joining New Jersey and New York City, is opened. I've been across it many times. 1940, the first superhighway, the Pennsylvania Turnpike, opens for traffic. I've traveled that too. 1957, we talked about paper currency, getting In God We Trust. 1961, the first centralized military intelligence is formed in the U.S. under the name United States Defense Intelligence Agency. It has a history with Fort Belvoir and the Sportcat family. James Meredith defies segregation rules and becomes the first Black student to enroll at the University of Mississippi in 1962. 1964, the free speech movement begins at the University of California, Berkeley. Talked about Walt Disney opening, of course, Muhammad Ali. 1979, Pope John Paul II visits the United States. And let's see, we talked about all that stuff, so I think we are done with this page. We will move on to, well, something. Yeah, I think we're done. We'll move on to the next one. Breaking news as we came on. Let me catch up in the chats here. If there's anything, okay, I guess Brenda's sending mail to Denise. I don't even know Denise's real name. Chris says, I loved how Happy Day got rid of their oldest son from season 1 and never explained what happened. He went to University of Berkeley and never appeared again. And Brenda says, we will soon be Mextex. I don't know. And Chris says, I think his name was Chuck. There's some trivia for you. Where's KG? He's the king of trivia. Brenda says, I think you could be right. I'm not sure. Oh, I guess she's talking about Chuck. All right. So breaking news as we come online earlier this morning, afternoon, whatever it is to you in your part of the world. In the Bronx, there was a horrible explosion, and it building collapse. And there you go. So there you can see the building partially collapsing after an explosion in the chimney. And it only collapsed the chimney portion, and is up to the most recent information. Apparently, no one has been injured. So, hey, KG, what was, here you go, trivia question for you. Happy Days. What was the name of the oldest son on the first season of Happy Days that was never spoke of again? So there you go. Bronx high rise partially collapsed into the street. As far as we know, there are no injuries, but of course they're going to check, well, like they said, with drones and dogs. It was a NYCH building, apparently, and in the entire building corner collapse. They're going to have to now check and see if it is safe for occupancy. So everybody's there, the mayor, FDNY, I'm sure NYPD's technical rescue team. So, but apparently a major disaster has been avoided in the Bronx, which is always great news. Going to be a lot of cleanup. No one lost their lives. No one's at hospital. And apparently there's no one missing. So we're going to have to just wait and see if the building is safe for occupancy. So that will probably be the biggest thing to come out of it. So let's hope that it is, but we'll follow it and see. We'll follow up with that. And I saw this on, good Lord, get off my screen, Brenda. I saw this on Facebook, and I wanted to play this. This is the two hurricanes, and we see they've been spinning off of the coast of the United States, causing some serious damage, and they're headed on a path for Bermuda. But look at what's about to happen. The two are about to merge. This is the first time we'll have this in history of recording this type of event. This is the computer graphic showing what's going to happen. So we see the two storms are intertangled with each other, and they're doing a little dance, but they're going to eventually come so close to each other, it's going to become one superstorm. Unfortunately, our friends in Bermuda will probably take a fairly direct hit from this storm, but we're going to continue to see right there. It just skims over Bermuda after it merges together. And Alert Viewers sent us some footage I'll show you here in just a minute, but let's talk about this real quick. Rip currents threaten the East Coast still as Hurricane Imelda and Humberto are out to sea. And the two storms are fewer than 500 miles apart. That's close for storms. They're both Category 1s off the East Coast. Imelda is expected to strengthen to a Category 2 as it approaches Bermuda. It's currently 395 miles southwest of Bermuda, moving northeast at 21 miles per hour. Hurricane Humberto is a Category 1 as it's heading out to sea. It's 280 miles northwest of Bermuda, moving northeast at 14 miles per hour with speeds of 80 mile an hour winds. On Tuesday, the two hurricanes are fewer than 500 miles apart a distance has not been seen in the satellite era, which began in 1966, when two storms have been this close together historically. One has been a tropical storm. Neither of the storms will make landfall in the United States, but the effects will be felt across a large swath of the country. Imelda is expected to pass less than 20 miles from Bermuda, which should brace for wind gusts near 100 miles an hour, large waves, 2 to 4 inches of rain. The worst conditions for the island are expected Wednesday night, that's tonight for us, through Thursday morning. So if you're in Bermuda, take caution, be prepared. A hurricane warning is in effect, and hopefully it will just be a small one, if you can say that. But Bermuda is no stranger to these storms. Being a tiny island in the middle of the Atlantic, I've traveled there frequently. It's a very pleasant place. It is often impacted by tropical cyclones. 14 hurricanes have come within 10 miles of the island. Most recent to take a direct hit was Hurricane Ernesto last year. So the combination of both storms in the Atlantic will continue to produce high surf, dangerous rip currents across the entire East Coast. Despite both storms moving away from the coastline, flooding is still expected, as some kind of weather advisory has been issued in many areas from Florida to Maine. Large swells and coastal flooding are expected from Daytona Beach, Florida, Kill Devil Hills, which is the Outer Banks, in North Carolina. States in the Southeast were prepared for twin storms would bring. North Carolina Governor Josh Stein declared a state of emergency even before the hurricane formed. South Carolina Governor said authorities have been pre-positioning search and rescue crews. We talked about that earlier in the week. At least 5 homes on North Carolina's Outer Banks have collapsed Tuesday as the storms churned in the Atlantic far off the East Coast. All the homes were unoccupied, which is good, Cape Hatteras National Seashore said on Facebook. The homes collapsed between 2 and 2:45. I assume it was yesterday. Video shows the beachfront homes held up on stilts, crumbling into the surf as massive waves hit the shore. All that left were piles of wood and rubble. Officials have warned that more beachfront homes are in danger of collapsing as the storms continue. So if you're on the Outer Banks in the Carolinas, be prepared. And Bermuda is bracing for Imelda. What will they name if the two merge together? So let's see. Let me catch up on chat here. KG says, I'm not sure, but it'll pop up in my head in 3, 6, or 9 hours. Yeah. Let's see. Rip currents. It's hard for me to say, Chris. Yeah, rip currents. What did we call rip cunts? Yeah, those rip cunts are dangerous. So. And no, it's not going to take down my condo. So, all right. So what are they going to call the two storms if they merge? I mean, we got to have, most couples have a cute name. Do hurricanes not have a cute couple name? Emel Hum? I don't know. I'm spitballing. All right. So Imelda and Humberto are out to sea. Hurricane warning is in effect for Bermuda. And once they merge, it will strengthen to at least a Category 2. And apparently, the Bermuda Minister of Defense and National Security says he cannot stress this is not a passing squall. This is a serious hurricane. So, hurricane force winds will be upon the island starting today for at least 6 hours. The international airport, schools, and government offices have all been closed. Ooh, glad I don't have to fly in there. I'd actually showed up on my Facebook feed 14 years ago. I posted a picture of the radar in our plane flying through the hurricane into Bermuda to help someone get medical attention. So Bermuda is a wealthy British territory with strong concrete structures capable of withstanding serious storms. Yes, it is. Those people amaze me. So, those people amaze me. It's a very, very wealthy part of the country or the world, because the island is so small it cannot produce anything. Everything has to be imported. Everything. So, except for like beer and rum. So Vorgan and Mintz would be good couples names. Himelda, Denise says. Himelda, I like that. Himelda. One good thing that will come out of it is, since the island does not have a proper water system, homes have water towers on their roofs that collect the water, and they keep that throughout the year. So that'll be good. I can't imagine drinking rainwater, but it's got to be salty too. Oh, so let's see. This was sent in to us by an alert viewer. 5 Outer Banks home fall into the ocean within 45 minutes amid coastal flooding. We look at the video and pictures here, and you can see these homes are just crumpling and going into the sea. Such a shame. Beautiful homes. I've stayed in the Outer Banks a few times, so, and I've actually enjoyed it. So why does it got to give you ads? Everything's an ad. I don't understand that. I'm just going to move on unless you get off the ad, which apparently it's not going to do. But you can call Michael and Son. Apparently they will clean drains and hire a lawyer. So there you go. Let's see if it shows any of the storms washing there's the sandbags. See if it shows any of the homes being sent out to sea. Yeah, they are getting hammered there. I'm glad that Oak Island avoided it. It doesn't. Well, maybe. You see, those homes are right there on the ocean front. Most of the homes that survive storms are 2 to 3 streets off of the ocean front. Not that they won't be blown away or washed over by water, but most of them that survive aren't that close when they have these dangerous rip currents. I remember a certain person and we actually went out and didn't have much clue about hurricanes at the time, and we were trying to fish in that. I won't name names, but that person is a follower. We tried to fish. I've never fished from the ocean again. So, but yeah, they're already starting to clean up. It's amazing how quickly they get in and try and start getting things cleaned up. So, yeah, exactly. The sandbags are going to be pretty much gone. All right. So let's get into a little news. Hakeem Jeffries, well, apparently during the White House meeting of the Democrats and the Republican leadership in the White House, apparently Trump 2028 hats appeared. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said that the Trump 2028 hat suddenly appeared on the Resolute desk in the Oval Office during the president's meeting with them earlier this week. Trump released photographs on Truth Social of the leaders sitting around the desk with the hats in front of them. Jeffries told CNN in an interview that Trump didn't try to hand the hats to him, our Senate Minority Leader, but instead they just showed up on the desk. They just randomly appeared in the middle of the meeting on the desk. It was the strangest thing ever, Jeffries told the outlet Tuesday night. I just looked at the hat. I looked at Vice President J.D. Vance, who was seated to my left, and said, "Don't you got a problem with this?" And he said, "No comment." And that was the end of it. That's great. I love the fact that our vice president has one hell of a sense of humor. Our president has a great sense of humor, but our vice president has an even better one. Trump and his allies have repeatedly floated the idea of a constitutionally prohibited third term. You can't do it. Get it out of your head. And although at times those comments have been dismissed as a joke, the president has at other points appeared to be more serious about the idea. Trump in August said he would probably not seek a third term, but added with a chuckle that he would like to run. He's going to be too old. Just retire. Go away. Let JD have it. He said at the time it was too soon to settle on a successor to serve as Republican nominee in 2028, but he acknowledged Vance is the most likely heir apparent. The president suggested that Secretary Marco Rubio, who ran for president in 2016, would make a good ticket partner with Vance. I think that's been floated before. Let's see here. And this comes to us from Raw Story. I don't know if they're up the middle, left, right. I don't know what their political leanings are, but the headline is Trump hinted at plans to cancel 2028 election while talking to the generals. President Trump's speech to hundreds of top U.S. generals on Tuesday hinted at a plan to cancel the 2028 elections, according to Democratic Representative Dan Goldman of New York. In an appearance on the Jim Acosta show on Tuesday, Goldman said the speech appeared to be preparing the ground for an authoritarian power grab. It's also, I think, really dangerous because it's trying to manufacture a crisis so that President Trump can continue to make more and more authoritarian actions so that he can usurp more power, according to the senator. It was a senator, right? According to Goldman. Ultimately, my view is that he is looking ahead to 2028, where he will say that for cockamamie made-up reasons, like he's talking to these generals about that, well, look, we're being invaded from within, from the enemy within, and we've got to keep our borders safe, and that's what our forces focus has to be. We can't possibly have an election under these circumstances. You really think it couldn't happen? Yeah, I think that's where a lot of this is heading towards, said Goldman. I think that's why he's floating a third term, why he's using this language of war, the enemy within, and securing our border. Trump, in his speech to the generals at the Marine base in Virginia, said the military's job was to help protect from the enemy within, and discussed sending the troops into cities such as Chicago and Portland, which I believe they're already going in. One thing to think about with this is I don't know that could be a good argument, because he's already said our border's secure. So if they're secure and 0 people are coming in, why can't we just get the bad people out? Although I did see a poll, or it wasn't a poll, it was a professor talking about the number of people that he has gotten out of the country that are here illegally. Don't at me about the term illegal. If you cross the border without permission, you're a criminal. That's illegal. You can't just wave a magic wand over you and say, no, you didn't break a crime. You steal a Snickers bar and walk out the door of 7-Eleven, you just committed shoplifting. It's the same effing offense, except amplified. Don't just wave a wand over it. But if it's at 0 and we're getting X amount of people out, the number, if we continue at projected scale, it would take 14 years to get out the number of illegal border crossers that came in the past administration. So there is something to be said about it, but let's hope we're getting it under wraps. So, and Trump has floated the idea of bringing back battleships. I talked about this yesterday. I did not know that we stopped having battleships. U.S. President Trump said he's thinking about bringing back U.S. Navy battleships. They were heavily armed, gun-wielding ships that dominated naval fights for decades. Aircraft carriers, naval aviation, and missiles made battleships increasingly unnecessary. U.S. President Donald Trump suggests he's considered bringing back the battleship that was retired decades ago, long after the kind of naval combat they were built for had become a thing of the past. What's old is new. Battleships were heavily armored naval powerhouses built to slug it out with other warships during world wars. They dominated the seas. By the end of the Cold War, these once mighty warships were completely obsolete. Speaking at a high-profile summit to the U.S. military leaders in Quantico, President Trump said battleships are on the table. It's something we're actually considering. He said the concept of battleships, nice 6-inch side solid steel, not aluminum. Aluminum melts if it looks at a missile coming, starts melting as missiles about 2 miles away. No, those ships, they don't make them that way anymore. That's correct. The large, heavily armored battleships brimming with powerful deck guns were the apex of naval power for much of the 20th century, when gun battles dominated naval fights. Each 16-inch gun could fire a round that weighed about 2,000 pounds. They brought tremendous firepower to a fight, but their time came to an end in the early 90s when the last of the Navy's battleships was decommissioned. The last time the big guns of the battleship were fired in anger was during the Gulf War. While talking about the strengths of the battleship, Trump reference the retired first-in-class USS Iowa, which is currently in a museum in Los Angeles, as well as the 1951 World War II naval warfare documentary, Victory at Sea. I look at those ships. They came with the destroyers or alongside of them, and man, nothing was going to stop them. Some people would say, no, that's old school. I don't know. I don't think it's an old technology when you look at those guns. Bullets are less expensive than missiles. The U.S. ceased producing battleships after WW2, and in the early Cold War shift to designing ships built to fire missiles that could accurately hit targets hundreds of miles away, many orders of magnitude further than the largest deck gun. Already built battleships were reactivated for shore bombardment and later outfitted with missiles. The last fleet-on-fleet combat truly decided by naval gunfire occurred in WW2. They become fast, obsolete. They've quickly become obsolete as aircraft carriers, submarines, and missiles provided deadlier and more capable at long range. While their substantial costs and crews made them inefficient, furthermore, modern naval strategy didn't have a role for a big gun warship the way it did in its past. The 8 remaining battleships are all now in museums around the country. In a potential war with China looming, American military officials and planners expect that naval forces would be under heavy missile fire while facing new surface and undersea threats, they say. And have a ranging countermeasure for missiles and drones is the key to survivability. The battleship, at least in its original design, isn't well suited for this kind of combat. I always thought, and maybe I'm wrong, but I always thought that there was 2 battleships assigned to each carrier group. I guess I don't know my naval history, so. And apparently he talked about the ugly stealth warships. Well, apparently he thinks they're ugly, but they're a part of our fleet today, whereas battleships are not. It seems to me we should have some kind of mini battleship, like a fast attack that travels with the carrier. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me we need to probably rethink that technology, equip it with more modern weaponry like drones. So, all right, well, the other headline of the day, we all have been hearing about it, the government shutdown. 750,000 federal employees are furloughed. U.S. government partially shut down at midnight. This is the first time it's occurred since 2019 after the Senate rejected a stopgap funding package. In equity markets, U.S. stock have largely shrugged off the economic and political risk, with J.P. Morgan noting that high probability the shutdown could last at least 11 to 15 days. So on the federal jobs front, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that 750,000 employees could be furloughed. Agencies have activated contingency plans that will begin sidelining these workers, resulting in the suspension of a wide range of services. Interestingly enough, some of the websites I use for this are already shutting down. This is being dubbed the Schumer shutdown. The effects of the shutdown in the economy will entirely depend upon duration. As far as duration, they are anticipating a 70% possibility of 11 to 15 days. So Democrats are demanding $1.5 trillion in spending for child mutilation surgeries, illegal health care, etc. And the president is holding the line. So I don't want to see that. I want to see the picture. So some of the shutdowns, we see the national park, monuments and museums are partially closed, federal parks, visitor centers at parks and monuments, economic data collection reports, FHA mortgage program. Some mail services are going to remain open. Amtrak will remain open. Small business loans will remain open. TSA air traffic control and passport offices will be open. Medical research, well, they're going to be stopping that for the time being. And I misspoke. I'm sorry. The federal courts are open. So, so there's a lot of wording about this. So we'll get into this. So that goes in this article. If you want to go to Zero Hedge, it goes into intense depth onto what is and is not open. We'll still get our mail and at least for the next 30 days or so. That may change, but they say the sale postage is going to continue to keep the postal service afloat. We may see that, we may not. I'm going to play this clip. You decide for yourself. Let's see, make sure I got audio before I start it. And this is an interview with, can you hear that? You seem a bit upset about this. Oh, there you go. Everybody. That's saving lives. You can't hear it? Okay. All right. Well, so this is a reporter interviewing Maxine Waters. And yeah, agreed. So she loses her shit during the interview. You can go over to X and find. I'm going to pause it in my headphones. Why is it not going out? Hold on a minute. That should be going out. Why is that not going out? Hold on. Let's see. Well, I know why it's not going out. Hold on. I can fix this. I can fix this, I think. I'll try. And copy. Let's go down here and open up. I want to open up this. Yeah. And want to go. Maybe. Now we should be able to hear it. If I turn the audio on. Hold on a minute. I've got it muted and everything.
Excuse me. Stop it right there.
Now it should be going out. Is it going out now?
What we're doing is saying simply we want to keep the government open and we want to work with the Republicans and have a bipartisan agreement.
Okay, Democrats want to prioritize. Let me qualify this a little bit. So this is a reporter. To be fair, she's from a Republican TV show. It's the Lindell TV. If you know anything about politics, that's Mike Lindell. And she is on the steps of the Capitol where basically reporters are at a free-for-all and they're just interviewing people, and she corners Maxine Waters.
The healthcare of illegal aliens over a government shutdown.
And what's her answer?
Excuse me, stop it right there. We're not prioritizing. What we're doing is saying simply we want to keep the government open and we want to work with the Republicans and have a bipartisan agreement to keep this government open.
Because
and
listen, she drops back some punts.
But are Democrats demanding health care for illegal aliens?
Democrats are demanding health care for everybody.
Health care for everybody. Trillions of dollars of health care for everybody.
That health care is available to those who would die, but having the help of their government.
So you're good with the government shutdown, even if it means giving health care to people who aren't American citizens?
Well, that's what you're pushing on. What you're trying to do is
she doesn't like she's cornered.
And you're trying to make me say
she just said
that somehow we're going to put non-citizens over Americans. Quit it. Stop it. This is the kind of journalism we don't need.
No,
you're divisive. No, you're not.
Yeah, no,
you're being divisive. No, please. You don't need to ask.
She is losing her shit.
You're just trying to get controversy.
Because she's cornered.
You're not going to get it from me. We want
I think they just did, Maxine.
For all people. Thank you.
Healthcare for all people. Healthcare for all people. So I'm done with her. So healthcare for all people. Let's listen to that statement. We're not saying it's for illegal people. We're saying it's for all people. Okay. I'm paying taxes. I want my healthcare monies that I'm putting in to go help Americans. So there's a difference. They're splitting hairs with their words, and they're trying to say that this isn't about that. And then if you also want to go back and look at, and I can address this as a paramedic, let me get that off my screen because she annoys me. I can speak to this as a paramedic. Since 2008, the emergency medical services and the hospital systems have been bombarded bombarded and overloaded. You can go back and look at whatever you want to and name it whatever you want. In 2008, there was a definitive difference. In COVID, there was a huge difference. It totally crashed the healthcare system in the United States in 2008. What they're saying is they want free healthcare for anyone. Let me tell you what specifically that means. When she is saying free healthcare for anyone, as a paramedic, I would respond out to 911 calls to people that needed help. Didn't give a rat's ass where they were from, what color they were. I was there to help. Herein lies the problem. They would present to me a medical insurance card and a hospital card. They would go to the hospital and they would get medical services, whether it was an emergency or not. There's the part of the problem that started the crash of the hospital system. Everything was moved in 2008 to, if you can't get healthcare insurance, you go to the hospital with your government subsidized health care, which was paid for by the citizens of the United States that pay taxes. When they would be presented at the hospital, they would be treated like any other human being would and should be, and then they were discharged and sent a bill. Well, if they were here illegally, they didn't have to pay that bill, so the hospital then in turn turned and billed the U.S. government. And that is what she's talking about. That is how they're splitting hairs. Free health care means going to the ER, getting your treatment in line with everyone else, and then the government paying the hospital. So she's splitting hairs with her terms. So I didn't feel so free to say such things the other day, but the truth hurts, and people are trying to push that this is partisan politics. No, it's American politics, because as an American, I don't want to pay for your bloody nose for you to go to the ER, then not turn around and reimburse. I'm watching my viewer count drop. I'm sorry. And I'm sure my YouTube algorithm just crashed, but it's the truth. So, all right, we're going to move on. You got me riled up for a few minutes. All right, so this is a poll. This comes to us from NPR, which if you want to look and see which way of the aisle they lean upon, you are free to. And this is saying more U.S. adults say Americans may have to resort to political violence. Overall, it was 20% in March of 2024. In September of 2025, it is now 30%, which is an increase from 12% to 26% in Democrats, 26 to 31% in Republicans, and 16 to 25% in independents. And so that they agree with the statement, respondents were asked if they agree with the statement, Americans may have to resort to violence in order to get the country back on track. Overall, we have seen a 10% to now 30%, meaning 3 in 10, right? Yeah. So 3 in 10 people now say that Americans may have to resort to violence to get the country back on track, according to an NPR PBS poll. So, but to be sure, a strong majority disagree with that 70%, but the 30% who now say violence may be the answer. So just remember that when you're out and about. Just remember that. All right. Let's see. Chris says we need healthcare like we had in 2020, 2022, when we did absolutely nothing, and yet magically things just went to zero. It seems like the most effective. Yeah. Brenda says, no, you're good. Yeah, I'm just watching the viewer count drop. But that is correct. That is how they're splitting hairs. She says everyone said you can't just walk out of a 7-Eleven with a Snickers and not be a criminal. You can't come into the United States without permission and not be a criminal. It isn't the way it works. So another thing that apparently some politicians didn't realize is ICE has been funded already. They're not relying upon the government shutdown. Some people thought that the mass deportation efforts would stop, but no, they're going to move full steam ahead because that's already funded. DHS has already received their funding for the year. So anyone thinking that is not the case, they're still going to be going on as scheduled. So ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, Homeland has all been funded already, and operations will continue. Here's part of the problem right here. We have a former elected official. I use that sparingly. Hillary Clinton rips white Christian men. She sparked outrage weeks after the C. Kirk guy got dusted. Former Democrat presidential candidate Hillary Clinton accused the ire of the political right when she satirized the idea of the dominance of the white men of certain persuasion, a certain religion, saying that they are the ones damaging the nation. Appearing on MSNBC, Morning Joe, Clinton started by disparaging the political right in an answer to the co-host asking, are we still headed towards a more perfect union? I think right now we're on a pause, Clinton replied. I think that people are uncertain. Some people are actually scared about what's going on in our country. The idea of we the people, that all men and women are created equal, that seems to be in the crosshairs of those on the right who want to turn the clock back on progress that has been made, writing out huge chunks of our history, slavery, suffrage, anything inconvenient, take it out of the museums, take it out of the national parks. I think our story is all more glorious when you look at where we came from, what we fought through. Co-host commented, even Abraham Lincoln's life owns words, even Abraham Lincoln's own evolution. You can't look at this American story and not be proud because of that progress. Clinton took a swipe at the Trump White House, responding, I wish you could record that and literally go play it outside the White House, the Congress 24/7, because I love my country and I love it, warts and all, and I am proud of the fact that we have always been a work in progress. We've gotten more and more of a perfect union. We fought a civil war over part of it, and people have been protesting for hundreds of years that things were not as they should be, given our ideals on how we should be moving towards them. What followed next was a not so subtle attack on Christian white men. So I think that what makes us so special as a country is the idea that you could turn the clocks back to recreate a world that was never dominated, by, let's say it, white men of certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology. It's just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for. And we were on the path to that imperfectly, lots of bumps along the way, but I agree with you, we were on the right trajectory. So she is proclaiming that conservative white Christian men are what's wrong with America right now. So just remember that. That's a former elected official stating that. So, Chris says, I know a station manager who wouldn't like this story. Cannot criticize the queen. Wouldn't it be king? In Portland, Oregon, Trump's order to deploy National Guard troops is facing resistance. Well, I don't know if you're following any of the social media feeds online at night, but apparently there's a small uprising. So protests are gathering. So the ICE is moving in to protect, and the National Guard will be moving in to protect federal buildings. So, that in, Chicago is going to be a very contested point. And I got a graphic here in a minute. I'll show you that I think may explain. I mentioned this yesterday. So we covered this previously. Flames mysteriously erupted from a Secret Service SUV. And so the investigation, apparently authorities believe it was caused by an electrical issue. Secret Service members usually drive a Chevrolet Suburban and Cadillac Escalades SUVs. There's a recall on the 2023-2024 Suburban due to brake pressure switch, wire harness leaking brake fluid. As a result, it could lead to an electrical short and cause a fire while the vehicle is being driven or parked. 21 through 24 Escalades have been recalled due to faulty brake pressure sensor assembly. Could leak brake fluid onto the pressure switch, leading to an electrical fire. So that could be the problem. And I was discussing this with someone else, and Most people don't think about it, but a lot of our emergency vehicles have 2 alternators and 2 batteries because the amount of energy required for the lights and sirens and emergency equipment, and that in itself is a huge electrical drain on the system. We talked about this yesterday. Oh, Brenda. We talked about this yesterday, and this is the story about the illegal alien that was apparently a school superintendent. Well, it turns out that he lied about his PhD. Ian Roberts, the Iowa superintendent who was arrested by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement last Friday after fleeing from a traffic stop. Fine, outstanding citizen flees from a traffic stop. He was speeding and ditching his district-issued vehicle in which a loaded handgun, $3,000 in cash, and a hunting knife was recovered. Completely lied about his bona fides. He also lost his superintendent license while the DOJ is launching an investigation hours after ICE detained him. The 54-year-old native of Ghana entered the United States on a student visa in 1999, overstayed, lied on a form claiming he was eligible to work when he was hired in 2023, and he is now facing deportations. Roberts never obtained a doctoral degree from Maryland University, something which would have been very easily to verify during the vetting process. Roberts has long stated he received a doctorate degree from Morgan State University in Baltimore, but a university spokesperson has told the Des Moines Register on Monday that Roberts did not obtain a degree from the school despite attending Morgan State from the fall of 2002 through the spring of 2007. Wonder who paid for those student loans. He attempted to obtain a doctorate in urban educational leadership. Despite his failures, he claimed on multiple occasions to have completed the degree at Morgan State, including 2009 in a self-published book. Where did he come up with the money to publish a book? Guess I paid for that too. So apparently the Des Moines Public School website called Roberts, he excelled academically and was completed educational programs at St. John's Morgan State, Harvard graduate, Georgetown, and a business degree at MIT. Oh boy, he was busy to get all that stuff. Good Lord, it cost me $40,000 to get a degree in fire science and emergency management. Jeez, that cost me. Remember those words, cost me. Anybody wants to at me. Brenda says, how did Andy let that happen? It's a good question. Very good question. We covered this the other day. Grace, I'll just put that up on the screen, your little acronym with an eyeball. We talked about this yesterday. There was a lockdown on a military base. Well, prosecutors say that an employee felt ostracized by her colleagues and hoped that going through an active shooter situation together would help them trauma bond. Yes, you're hearing me correctly, and I'm reading that correctly. A scare about a supposed shooting that prompted a lockdown at New Jersey's largest military base was a hoax caused by a civilian employee who wanted to, quote, trauma bond with her colleagues, according to federal prosecutors. Michaela Brittingham, a civilian who works for the Naval Air Warfare Center, was assigned to Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst, faces charges that she knowingly conveyed false information about an active shooter who didn't exist, according to a criminal complaint filed by federal prosecutors. She was taken into custody Tuesday afternoon. A telephone number for her could not be located Wednesday. It wasn't known if she has retained an attorney. I'm assuming she probably will. The lockdown order was issued shortly after 11 a.m. on Tuesday at the base, which is among the nation's largest military installations. According to the complaint, she texted someone at 10:15:18, writing that a shooter was on the base, that she had heard 5 or 6 shots, and that she was hiding in a closet with coworkers. The person she texted then called the base's operations center and 911, relaying what she had told her. That prompted the lockdown. It lasted for about an hour as officials determined there was no shooter. This kind of senseless fear mongering and disruption will not be tolerated in my state, according to acting U.S. Attorney General Alina Habba. She posted on social media, after everything this country has gone through, especially in light of current events, I'll be sure to bring down the hammer of law for anyone found guilty of creating unnecessary panic and undermining public trust. According to prosecutors, she told investigators she carried out the hoax because she had been ostracized by her coworkers and hoped that their shared experience in response to an active shooter would allow them to trauma bond. She's probably going to plead that she needs mental health. Okay, well, so I'm bringing up a headline here, and I see down there breaking news about a power plant in Russia has been bombed, and now there's a radiation threat. And a place called Chernobyl. We all remember that if we're kids. Yeah, agreed. What the? Yeah. Yeah. Brenda says now she has no job and still no friends. No, Brenda, that's not correct. She will have plenty of friends in her nice prison cell. So, all right. So I don't know anything about the breaking news down there. We'll pull it up real quick if you'd like about Chernobyl. Those are scary words to people of my age because we've lived through one problem there. So we'll just hit this quickly. 300 ICE agents swarm a Chicago apartment complex in a Venezuelan gang raid. So we know that there's an increase in Customs and Border officials in Chicago and in Portland. And I brought this up yesterday, and I don't think many people understood what I was talking about. So Customs and Border Patrol, their official jurisdiction, they have from the end of the border, in other words, the imaginary line of where the border is, a 100-mile border zone. And remember yesterday I asked, what is Chicago? Where is Portland in relation to those? They're within that 100-mile border zone. That gives Customs and Border Patrol, Homeland, ICE, Coast Guard permission within that 100-mile zone to stop and question. They're allowed to enter properties that can't enter private properties, like residential property, and they have special powers. The population of the United States is largely around that 100-mile zone, meaning very few people live deep within the interior. So 2 out of 3 people live within that 100-mile border zone that it doesn't matter. They have power within. So Portland, Chicago, all those cities there, Alexandria, Virginia, New Orleans, Chicago, all those cities are within that 100-mile border zone that they legally have rights to do. So, and then if you live within, was it 25 miles of a international airport, you're within that zone. So everybody's saying that they have no rights to be there. They have absolute right. Look at Detroit. I'm sorry. Look at Michigan, almost the entire state. Well, the entire state. Look at Maine, most of New Hampshire, part of Vermont. Look at the border there. That 100-mile border zone covers a large portion of the country where they are free to operate. Then you add in the international airports, and I'm pretty sure it's 25. It may be 50, but we're going to go with 25 because I know it's at least 25 miles. Within an international airport, you live within a border. In Atlanta, I live within a border because Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. That's facts. They have rights to be there. Now, I brought this up. I don't necessarily agree with all the things on the site, but this comes to us from the ACLU, and you can go and you can actually look and understand. It breaks it down, and it tells you about your rights and what you can and can't do, but this is the law. So all these cities that are saying they can't be there, yeah, they're not going to win that battle. They're not going to win that battle because that is their jurisdiction. So, all right. So, I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to hit on this, but go over to ready.gov. They pushed this out again the other day that people should be preparing a basic disaster supply kit. You can go to ready.gov, print it out for yourself. Things you'll need. Of course, I'm always talking about having lights of some kind of backup power, even if it's portable. Whistle, I don't know, dust mask. There's all kinds. They've added to this thing. So this was pushed out again the other day. So they're trying to low hint something is on the horizon. I mean, Russia just called up most of its civilian population for a war. China is building flotation devices to move tanks to shore for Taiwan. Iran and Israel are tangling continuously, and well, Venezuela is continuing to piss off president. So, well, there you go. So somewhere something's going to happen. So this comes to us from AZAT TV. You can decide what you like to call this, but they go into saying that the DHS has spent $1.7 million in 2025 on pepperball weapons, which is totaling more than 14.3 since 2008. They're going into the budget for rubber bullets and pepper balls has increased to, they've spent $14.3 million since 2008. And Illinois and 11 states have an injunction against them for their funding cuts. So yeah, they're not going to win that battle because of the actual law. We'll see how it goes, but I'm going to guess that that's probably a no-brainer. All right, so we got about a half hour left in my show where I've rambled. I'm trying every day to cut this shorter and shorter with the news. So we get to finally the FEMA daily operations brief for Wednesday, October 1st, as presented to the president at 8:30 a.m. Things that we are monitoring: rain and thunderstorms in the Pacific Northwest. There's actually some snow coming in. Tropical activity. Well, the two hurricanes are dancing off the shore. And then there is a disturbance and a tropical storm in the Central Pacific. We'll take a better look at the tropical outlook in the national forecast here in a minute. The national fire activity, well, this is peaking up a little bit. And we see that new large fires, well, there's been one. They've contained 2, but they still have 15 that are uncontained, with a total of 6,980 responders working. Also, you're going to hear that firefighters won't be able to fight fire because of this. That's only partially correct, because a large portion of the wildland firefighters are contracts have already been paid. Business isn't going to go out and say, okay, we'll wait on the government to pay us. They've already been paid. So they're saying that you will hear people saying that the federal government isn't paying wildland firefighters. It's only partially true. They're not paying for the firefighters that go out and actively backburn, meaning cut the woods and start the fires. But the people that are fighting the fires is typically contract workers. And so that has been paid and will continue. So don't believe that. Space weather outlook. Well, 3i Atlas is going to cause some storms here in the next few days up until the end of the month. And then by Christmas, when it may actually peak around the sun and, well, visit us. So there's some moderate space weather activity. I'm still learning more about it to tell you about it. So I'll keep you updated on that. Along with the federal shutdown, well, the president doesn't have much on his calendar. Today at 4:30, he's going to sign some executive orders at 1 o'clock today. There was a press conference and Vice President J.D. Vance was there. I heard some of his comments. They were very good. In fact, he even told some good jokes. So that's already happened. I'll bring this up and let's see if I can stop that. Breaking news alerts. Let's see if it has anything. Just in, vote into government shutdown failed. This is at 12:22. As Democrats hold firm on healthcare demands. Well, there you go. So that's the latest. Let's see. We go down here and say one progressive lawmaker says Republicans can't be trusted on a clean spending bill. Well, even I, as a ignorant citizen know what a clean spending bill is. You only pay for what you have to pay. It makes sense. Let's see. I don't see anything there. Let's go to world breaking news and see if there's anything. All right. I don't see anything there. That's old news. All right. Yeah, I don't see anything. Didn't have to be breaking news. Okay. See if we'll go to that one and see. Ukraine's new repair. Nope. Okay. Well, AP isn't reporting that breaking news, so we'll move on. Let's see. This may need to be updated. And this page is also going to be changed. Let's see. 8 a.m. You know what? Let's just go to other things. All right. For our friends in Australia, you've waited long enough to hear the current weather events, or current weather. In Sydney, you're at 16.1 Celsius. You're going to get a high of 27, windy and partly cloudy skies. Melbourne, 9.7 Celsius. Yeah, you're going to have some rain showers today with a high of 15 Celsius. Brisbane, well, you're right now almost at 19. You're going to get to 35. The morning fog's going to burn off, and then it'll be nice and sunny. Perth, that's 8.9. 9, we'll just say 9. That's your low, and it's going to make it to a high of 27 and be sunny. Adelaide, well, it is 11 Celsius. Showers are going to be easing up a little bit, and you're going to see a high of 17. Hobart, well, it's currently right at 11. You're right at your low. You're going to get a couple showers today with a high of 17. Canberra, well, you're at 9 Celsius. Now you're just above your low for the day, so you're warming up. You're going to get to 15 Celsius, and there's going to be some brief showers today. Darwin, you're at 27 Celsius. You're not going to get a whole lot warmer today. It's going to be 34 Celsius and partly cloudy. So that comes to you from the Australian government Bureau of Meteorology. So I don't think it's going to shut down during the U.S. shutdown. So I want to make sure I get that out there. And we look at the Weather Prediction Center. I'm going to update this. Some of these sites have been a little wonky because of the shutdown. Let's see. Chris says pepper balls would be a terrible nickname to have catch on you in high school. Yeah. A pepper ball, that would be bad. No, never mind. We'll leave it. All right. So we see out on the west. We'll start there. Most of Washington in the higher elevations could see that mixed precipitation and maybe a little of the S word moving over into Montana, Oregon, and California. Your higher elevations along the Cascades is going to see it. The Rockies, not so much today. In the Midwest, some spotty showers, maybe a little strong line of storms is going to start up in the Dakotas as a cold front. It had been moving to the east, but is now actually moving to the southeast. So they could see some colder temperatures and some thunderstorms increasing. Mississippi, well, it's going to be a soggy, sloshy day for you. Also, much of the Gulf Coast and, well, all of Florida. We'll just say all of Florida. On the east side of the Appalachia, there's a small storm cell that's going to be causing some intermittent rains. And along the coastline, well, anywhere from Maine to Florida, anticipate some riptides, high waves, some flooding, and some spotty showers. Get into a little bit more detailed in here in just a minute. Look and see today's chances for a tornado, less than 2% in the lower 48. As far as high wind probabilities, less than 5% for the lower 48, and zero, almost zero. You can never say zero. Less than 5% for hail today from any of the storms. And the probable mist, where it's going to rain the most, well, it looks as though it's going to be out in the West Coast where Idaho, Nevada, in the higher elevations, you're going to have the most rain. Washington, well, it's always raining in Seattle. So there you go. And most of the areas along the coast of Florida, both east and west, can anticipate heavy rains, but on the eastern seaboard, chances of rain will be the highest. So be prepared if you're anywhere from the Keys on up to Jacksonville for some significant rainfall. And down in Louisiana, well, on the Gulf Coast in New Orleans, and out to shore if you're working in an oil rig and listening to me. Actually, I do know I have a few people that do. You can anticipate some heavy rains. So that's for the next 72 hours. And let's take a look at these hurricanes. Well, Imelda, as of 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, she had winds of up to 100 miles an hour, and she's moving to the east-northeast at 20 miles an hour. So she is considered a level category 1. Humberto, well, that's the biggest of the two, but it's got winds of 70 miles an hour, and it is moving to the east-northeast at 23 miles an hour. So it's going to have to slow down a little bit for Imelda to catch up with it. Let's look at some views of the hurricanes out in the Atlantic. And we see there, you can see Humberto and Imelda. Well, you can almost see Humberto. It's a little more to the north. And look there at that forming off of the coast of Africa. And there's actually 2 disturbances that they're starting to take a look at. So this gives us a much better view. You can see the 2 storms in their intimate dance and how they're exchanging energy back and forth between the 2. And let's see, down in the Gulf of America, that disturbance right there down, if you're looking with us, down in the Gulf off the coast of Mexico, is trying really hard to do something, and these off of the coast of Florida are as well. They're keeping their eyes on them, but so far don't seem to be concerned. Let's see. I'll update this because, there we go. And this is the most recent 3D view of satellite. And what did, let me catch up on my comments here. KG posted overseas just 3 minutes ago. Wildlife advocate and primary expert Jane Goodall dies at 91. Oh, I hate to hear that. So breaking news, according to KG, wildlife advocate and primate expert Jane Goodall has passed away at 91. So Brenda says, wait, I thought that had already happened. Maybe it did. Maybe is that one of those Mandela effect? I saw there's some new ones. I didn't research it yet, but I saw there were some new ones, and I think Taco Bell was included. All right, so we look up here on the Pacific side, and we see in the 3D view on Zoom Earth, there's a storm trying to form there off of the coast of Seattle. The problem is, it doesn't really show it in this, but there's a cold front coming down from really Alaska down through the Yukon, and it had been traveling to the east, but if it gets entangled in this, it will start moving more to the southeast, which means cold weather is going to be coming to us. We see Humberto in Imelda there off of the coast. She's currently a category 2. I said category 1, and Humberto is just a tropical storm. Those are the 2 that are going to merge. We have this disturbance down here in the Pacific, as well as Octave in the Pacific as well. So I got about 15 minutes. I need to hurry up, guys. Typhoons out in Philippines is still causing a problem. That typhoon is going to be what's considered a tropical storm now, but it's going to be crossing over the Philippines, and it's headed straight for Hanoi. And then over in India, the typhoon there, well, it's still, they're just calling it a cyclone storm at this point. It's still in the Bay of Bengal, but it is headed straight at India on the west coast. And then over on the east coast, that'd be right. No, that would be the east coast of India. The Bay of Bengal is where that tropical cone is, a typhoon. And we look down in Australia. It doesn't appear you have any disturbances down there that you have to worry about. And let's see here. Let's look real quick at current watches and warnings. Texas, you have an air quality alert. It's probably due to fires. And Maryland, there's your test message. I just can't. Flood advisory in Puerto Rico, high surf in the Carolinas, and beach hazard statements in the Carolinas, and rip currents across the east coast. In Pennsylvania, you have a frost advisory. today. And let's see, lots of marine warnings on most waterways and coastal floodings. Yeah, I'm looking down here to see. Don't see high surf. Lots of rip and high surf for most waterways. Don't see anything that is really, really emergent. I mean, not that flooding and beach hazards aren't, but all right, so there you go. All right, we'll move on with this one since I'm just scanning through and I don't see anything else. You can go over to Weather Warn and check them out and look and see. South Dakota does have a flood warning, but that's going to be in effect till tonight, so that must be from the storms up in the Dakotas. Let's look at the current weather map. This comes to us from GEMA, and we see the two hurricanes dancing there. Looks like much of the New England areas had some kind of frost or freeze warning. All of Vermont, most of New Hampshire, up into Nova Scotia has got some freeze warnings as far up as the north as far up as in Maine and Nova Scotia. And then down on the East Coast, following down, they have all kinds of rip currents, beach hazard statements that travels from Maine all the way down through the Keys because of the tropical storms off the shore. Rip currents are also high in the Gulf of America today. And of course, there's all kinds of small craft advisories out in the Gulf and on the East Coast by the storms. We see the one small cell here in Kansas, and it looks like it's near Salina. That's got a little bit of energy to it. We'll look at the lightning in a second. And then this is up over North Dakota, coming out of Winnipeg. It looks as though it's headed towards Grand Forks. A small cell there. Over on the West Coast, well, we talked about the wind and surf advisories in that storm off the shore of Washington State, and it's causing several hazardous sea warnings and gale warnings along the West Coast. All right, let's look and see internationally. About 10 minutes left, so I got to scoot through this. I need to learn to stop talking so much about the news and cover this stuff. We see in the United States, pretty much as we talked about. Let's jump down to Australia and see what we have here. Looks like on your West Coast, it looks as though you have some strong wind warnings for coastal waters on the West Coast. It's extending as far in as orange. So warning to sheep grazers for northern Tabby. Okay. There's a sheep grazer warning out. I don't know what that means, but that's from your Bureau of Meteorology. There's a sheep grazing warning to sheep grazers. I don't know. I just don't know. I would have to do some more homework on that because I don't know what the hell that means. Official warning severe weather warnings near Bathurst Airport. Warning to sheep grazers for northern tablelands. Sheep grazers are warned that cold temperature showers and westerly winds are expected during Thursday and Friday's area, likely to be affected the southern tablelands and snowy mountains forecast districts as part of the northern tablelands. Central tablelands, southwest slopes, and the Australian Capital Territory forecast district. There's risk of loss of lambs and sheep exposed to these conditions. All right, I will be honest to our Australian listeners. I've never heard of that before, so now I am educated. So that is along your West Coast, down along in the southern coast in Melbourne. They still have the sheep grazing warning and is also a wind warning. And what do we have down here? Strong winds for coastal waters. There's down off, is that Hobart? Yeah, down off Hobart and over towards Adelaide. Strong wind advisories there as well, and high surf. So if you have sheep, I did not know this was a thing, but hey, I'm learning something. So there you go. I'm not even making a joke about it. What did that little red dot just pop up? Minor flood warning is in effect, and that is for, where is that for? Devonport. All right, so flood warning for the lower elevations there. So there you go. We'll zoom out real quick and see if there's anything else. South America, They are having problems with some fires, as is Canada right now. And we jump over into the Middle East, and, well, it's a hotbed of stuff. Look at the electrical activity in the storms. Oh, that storm coming down from Winnipeg. It does have some energy to it. So if you're in Minnesota, keep your weather radios on. And if you are near Wichita or Kansas City, be paying attention, because that storm also has some electricity to it. And up in Nebraska, that storm there is a small storm, but it does have a little power to it near North Platte in Lexington. And where did it go? And I don't see much there. Where is Bermuda on this? And Bermuda, you don't appear to be having much electrical activity currently, but I would watch and see if that'll change. Excuse me. Down off of Melbourne's coastline, there's a small cell right there off of the coast that's causing a little bit of electrical activity between you and Tasmania. So, did I pronounce that wrong? Tasmania. No, Tasmania. That storm cell has a little bit of electrical activity, so pay attention to that. Let's look and see where most U.S. power outages are at the moment. Well, currently California is 7,517, in Texas, followed by Georgia, Florida, and the Carolinas. And we look here at the global Earth in a 3D view of the AI sky. We've only got a few minutes left, so we see the two storms doing their dance. And over here to the coast of Africa, and we see the winds coming off there. Let's see. Temperatures currently in the lower 48. Phoenix wins the record for 92, followed by Houston at 91 and Odessa at 90. Tampa, you get an honorable mention at 86. Here in Atlanta, we're in the low 80s. Up in Burlington, Vermont, well, it's currently right at 59 degrees. And let's see. Heat risk, mainly today, the heat risk is for down off the Gulf of America, code orange for Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and of course, Florida. You are always nearby with the chance of code orange. Trying to skip ahead. Doesn't look like much precipitation for the island today in Australia. Most of the precipitation in the United States, the heaviest will be off the west coast, off of Portland, Seattle area, as that storm is trying to move inland. That's where the heaviest is. Look at air quality, and currently, worst place is Topeka at the moment. Oh, zoomed out too far. Much of the East Coast is code yellow for today. Brenda, don't worry. The cold weather is coming. It is coming. And we look at the fire map. This comes to us from the U.S. Forestry. I don't know if they're going to continue to update this, and NASA. This may be one of the things that gets cut. So no. Cancel, wrong button. This may be one of the things that takes a break during the shutdown. Yep. It's not updating. So, all right. So that website is not up to date. I'll have to find another one. NASA is not updating that one. I assume that this one probably isn't updated either. So no. All right. So fire and smoke map. Well, it looks like much of the central United States is the only areas with smoke today, from the Gulf of America straight up. That's just west of the Mississippi, straight up from Houston to Kansas. As it makes its way up through Iowa, Minneapolis, and Minnesota, that's where the smokiest areas are for today. And we see here on the IQ Air that the storms there, that's one of the reasons they're slowing down, is the dust. The two storms are slowing down with the dust and the ice in it. Brenda says it's 92 where she is. Well, I hate that. And currently there are no tsunami warnings, watches, advisories, or threats, according to NOAA. Let me bring that back up and refresh it. That's correct. And earthquakes within the last hour. And there's none in the lower 48 or Alaska and Australia, none there. Volcano warnings. Well, we're still at an orange for Kilauea in the Great Sitkin and a yellow for Shishaladon. I'm probably didn't say it right, Chris. Sorry. We talked about space weather. And I don't have time for those today. And don't have time for that. All right, so let's go out here and take real quick Let's look at all those planes up above. Let's zero them out and see what is military. Down along the coastline in the Gulf, that's a lot of training. And yep, a lot of training flights. Let's see. Last night, there was lots of activity with the emergency planes. There's a P-8 cruising up and down the the eastern coast. And there's a dignitary flying out of DC somewhere. That could be Air Force 2, or it could be Secretary Rubio. And let's see, that's a civilian. That's obviously coming out of Quantico. Trying to see. Really, I'm most interested in the P-8s for us. Yep, there's a P-8 off of the West Coast. So there's P-8s off of both coasts. And it's kind of hard to zoom in here with all the training flights. Plus, they may not be squawking on what's going on in the Gulf of America. It doesn't appear currently there's any up. Now, let's go over and look real quick and see what's going on over here. Well, that's something you don't see very often. That is a Russian military flight. Usually they don't squawk. It took off out of Moscow and is headed rapidly south. And that is the Ukrainian plane. Well, we get a treat today. We don't normally see either of those two. So, and there had been some P-8s up and operating over near the UK yesterday, but I don't see them right now. Typically, they try and keep them up at night. Oh, there's something we really don't see. A fighter jet is patrolling Europe. Oh, they got several of them patrolling Europe. So interesting. You don't see that too often either. Yeah, there's the whole flight path for them. So, and I guess that's the Royal Air. That's a Royal Air Force plane. That's a dignitary flight. So that may explain that. And let's see, lots of that. And a France plane. Yeah, last night the talk on the doom scrolling was all the nuclear planes were up and the emergency planes were up and out. Of course, that's been the talk of the day. There's a Royal Canadian plane coming in. But, you know, those planes operate. They have to train. They have to keep their time up. Whatever that was, has come out hot and fast out of the Jacksonville is headed to the west. And that's a P-8. Why is a P-8 headed to the southwest? It's headed hot and fast out of Jacksonville. Interesting. All right, let's see what else we got here because I am running out of time. We don't really have any new NOTAMs. I took a look at this before we came on air. I need to learn to manage my time better, so I got time to talk about this. Ship movement. These are all the ships moving currently. Doesn't look like anything off the coast of Venezuela is in trouble. Wait a minute. I do want to go back here a minute and see. A NOTAM was issued for most of Puerto Rico yesterday, and Venezuela closed all of its airspace last night. It's not showing up on our FAA thing, but that was yesterday a big deal. So we see here, look there at all the things at high elevation. That it's National Balloon Day. Look at all those high flying receivers. Almost the entire United States is being monitored for weather at this time. So there you go. That's not really that important. This is just a visualization of the satellites over the world, which I just think is kind of cool. You can go check that out at leolabs.space for low Earth observation and see what kind of spooky things are above you right now. That and you can zoom in. You can play with this one too and see all the satellites, and it'll even tell you the numbers so you can do a deep research. So there you go. We'll finish off as we always do with Bitdefender. And as always, we see the United States is getting peppered. Shocker. See that infections are yellow, reds are attacks, and surprisingly enough, they're coming from Asia mainly. Whites are spam. So, well, there's some from California going to Kansas over to Atlanta. Nice. That's infections. I'm sorry, that's attacks. Yesterday, there was a warning sent out to hospital systems to check and maintain their cyber defenses because of possible attacks. So Brenda says we better hang on to our butts. Things are going to get hairy. Brenda, I hope you don't have a hairy butt, but hey, you know. And no, I don't need longer shows because I'm tired of talking by the end of it. But speaking of longer shows, today is Wednesday, which means tonight at 9 o'clock, I do have a show. So you can come over and check us out. I'll be live right here on Dare Talk Radio and, of course, on YouTube. You can find me. Tonight we have two great guests. We're going to be doing something a little weird, even by my standards, weird. We're going to have a taste testing from Fired Up Jellies and Jams. He has provided myself, and I sent one up to my lovely co-host, and we're going to taste test spicy jams and jellies in the first hour. And of course, we're going to interview him about his spooky stories and what he's got going on. So if you want to see me melting, I suggest you come over and find us on the Sportcat shows, and you'll see me eating the hot peppers. Then the second hour, Sam, Northwest Wind, he has his own channel. He's a content creator, and he is going to talk to us about stealth camping. This is a pretty cool trend happening here lately. People camping in odd places. When I mean odd, I mean it could be the roof of an Arby's. So, yeah, he's going to talk to us about that. He's had some scary experiences, not only in the woods, but in the urban settings. He's going to talk to us about possibly Bigfoot sighting. So tune in for that. He's also going to be discussing something near and dear to my heart. He's had some damage to him done through trauma and his battles with PTSD and substance and alcohol abuse. He's going to talk to us about that. And hopefully, if you have any questions, I will open up tonight the text line, possibly the phone line if there's any interest. So you'll have to tune into the show to get that information and come over and check that out. So we'll be live 9 p.m. on the East Coast, which I think is 9 a.m. in Perth. And we'll be live for 2 hours talking about all that. So we'll have that. And then tomorrow, of course, I am spinning records and playing hits on the Thin Line Rock Station from noon till 1400 East Coast time. And then I'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same channel, doing this show again. And hopefully I'll learn how to manage my time so I'm not going over. Although the station manager in Australia have been amazing to me, and I appreciate them. Thank you, Chris. I am looking forward to the show tonight, and we'll see. Maybe I'll melt with hot peppers. Everybody have a great day, great afternoon, great morning, whatever it is. I will see you in just about 5 hours, 4 hours. So I'll see you in just a few hours. Everybody have a great one. I'm going to get out of here before I lose my voice for tonight. Talk to you soon. Sportcat, well, I'm getting the hell out of here. I'll see you.